In this video, we're going to take a look at mirroring and laying out our UVs. I'm going to select my model and let's go to our UV texture editor. And I've already laid out the UVs for half of the model. You can see here that these are my toes and leg. Here's the body. Notice the major difference in size. We're going to let Maya fix all of those things for us. And I've also taken everything and cut it in half and just deleted any of the extra UVs that I had that were of the other half of the model. So my first step here, since I already have half of the model, I have this side, all of the UVs laid out for this side. I want to now lay out the UVs for the other side. We can do this automatically by mirroring our geometry. Now this works because we have a symmetrical model. And to do so, I'm going to go to Mesh, Mirror, Cut. And let's open the tool options here. And by default, we're good to go. This is my YZ plane. The YZ plane is cutting my model in half. So I want to take this side and bring it over to this side. And we're going to merge it with the original. Essentially, we won't see anything different happen to our geometry here. So let's do it. We're going to do Mirror Cut. And I get the Mirror Cut manipulator. And I can then delete it. And I'm going to just delete my history, select the manipulator, and get rid of it. And now you can see now I have a hard edge going down the middle of my model. Not going to worry about that just yet. And now in the UV texture space, we have a mixed color of our blue and our red. This is showing me that I have overlapping UVs. I have the right side UVs on top of the left side UVs. To separate these, I'll come back to my model and we'll just go to UV, UV shell, and I'll select half of that. And because I'm on UV shell, it's grabbing the entire section, and you can see that pre-selection highlight illustrating that UV shell. So I have all of those selected there. Now in my UV texture editor, I'm going to convert my selection to UVs. So we go to Select, Convert Selection to UVs, and then I'll just flip these over so that now they're going in the right direction. And I'll hit W, and we'll just move these out. Now I have a perfect mirror of my original UV set. A little bit of cleanup here that I want to do. I want to bring these pieces together. So I'm going to select my common edges, and there's the tail. And we'll just move and sew that together. And let's zoom up to the head. We already know that these two pieces are going to go together like that. And the only other pieces are going to be the body, which are this little small section over here. I'll select all of that edge side there. And I'm making the assumption that it's also selecting the corresponding edges on the other piece. Now here, I did do a sloppy selection. These don't matter. These are already connected. We cannot move and sew those anymore. They are already attached to their corresponding edge, so I don't have to care about those. I'll choose Move and Sew. That'll bring those two together there. And we'll do the same thing here. Now this one, I do have to be careful. These have a corresponding edge. There is another object, another UV shell out there that these will move and sew too. So I do need to deselect those as well as these. Get rid of those, but those interior ones don't have to worry about. Move and sew. And we'll zoom out. And there it is right there. It flew over to the other side. So now I have all of my pieces ready to go. The entire crow is laid out. I have all of my UVs there. Now what I can do is then go to UV and I'll select everything. And I want to use my Unfold tool, but I'm not going to use it from up here because I want to make sure that I have a couple of options set. So let's open those tool options. And the first one I want to now use is this pack. Earlier, we unchecked this. This time, I want to make sure that that's active so that all of my UVs will be packed into the 0 to 1 texture space. The next thing I'm going to change here is the map size. I'm going to be using a 2K map or a 2048. That's the amount of pixels squared. And room space in pixels, This is going to be the distance in pixels that the UV shells are going to be from one another. I'll leave this set to 2 for right now, but we're going to come back and change it. I'll choose Apply, and then Maya will take all of those UVs, let's zoom up, pack them into the 0 to 1 texture space. But notice what else it did. It took all those UV shells and scaled them to the proper size. So regardless, when I'm laying out my UVs, I don't have to worry about that scale. The Unfold tool is going to do all of that for me. Now the toes are the right size. They're no longer twice as big as the wing. They're exactly where they're supposed to be. However, one problem we are seeing here is that these are really packed very tightly together. Too tight. We don't like that. That's going to be very difficult to paint on, and we'll also end up getting some texture bleeding that will cause problems between pieces like this that are really close. So let's just undo that, and let's take that pixel space and let's up it to 10, and we'll hit Apply again. Now you can see much better. We have a much bigger distance between there. Still a little too much. I think we can push these off just a little bit more. But that pixel space, that room space, will allow us to alter the distance in between these. Now, ultimately, I prefer to manually move all of my UV shells into a proper position. So I'm really just using my Unfold tool here. Let's close that up, just for its scaling properties. Now, it's also doing another Unfold, so if there was any more distortion in my UV shell, the Unfold tool would pick it up as well. But I want to position these a little bit better. So I'm going to choose the Move UV Shell tool. This will allow me just to click and drag and move these UVs out. I don't have to try and worry about selecting any of the UVs. The UV shell will grab the entire thing for me. And I can even highlight those all at once and move those out. To do my layout, I'm going to manually position these, and I want these to fit in the best possible way. I'm going to rotate this, and we'll move this down to this corner here. And we can rotate this one over here so that these two fit together nicely, maybe something like that. And then we can do the same thing for the wings up top and move those in. Rotate this and move these in. And then basically grab the rest of our pieces here and fit them. Now we know that they're all in the same scale, so I don't want to grab any particular piece and scale it to make it fit. If we're going to do any scaling whatsoever, we want to scale all of our UVs at once. But it doesn't look like we're going to need to do that. They should all fit right back in this square. Now, the Move UV tool also has a function inside of there that will prevent UVs from being stacked on top of one another. So if I drag this over, let's go to our UV tool, and we'll double click that, and we have Prevent Overlap. And so you can see if I try, the wings it's not having a problem with, but these little pieces over here, if I try an overlap, it starts to bounce. And actually that's the problem there, is they're conflicting with one another. There we go. So if I try and bring that down, it pops back. And we'll rotate that one there. And then we can just continue to go through and fit all of these pieces into our 0 to 1 texture space. Once we have that accomplished, we can then start working on actually painting a texture based upon our UV shells.